go.
Alright,
Because I can chop this.
Recording now. And playing on 3. 1, 2, and 3.
I wasn't going to do this one, but I decided I need to. New music. These are the confessions of a band geek. Time to get personal. If I could, I'd probably do things differently. These are the confessions of a band geek. Reminiscing, thinking how I got to where I'm at. Throwback before I even learned how to rap. Tell my story kinda sorta like my diary. These are the confessions of a band geek. Music molded me and made me, me. If I could, I'd probably do things differently. I used to only take my horn home once a week. These are the confessions of a band geek. 5th grade, I remember it like yesterday. I saw the band and decided I wanted to play. I tried the trombone and the sax, but that wasn't fun. I always had rhythm, so I wanted to play the drums. But ain't nothing happening, I guess it was too late. I decided I ain't want to play them anyway. Then the director told... You can lie. Then the director told me to give the cornet a try. Handed it to me and told me to try to make a sound. Watching the hands to make sure I had the form down. Couple people staring, so I'm not trying to look stupid now. Played it so loud, I had everyone looking around. From that moment, I decided it was on. 5th and 6th grade passed, I was still going strong. 7th grade, my folks were glad I was serious about something. Moms took me up to Sadler's and bought me my own trumpet. For real. Before I even learned how to rap. Tell my story kinda sorta like my diary. These are the confessions of a band geek. Music molded me and made me, me. If I could, I'd probably do things differently. I used to only take my horn home once a week. 8th grade at Waldo, everything switched. That's when I met Mr. Conrad and Mr. Tripp. New beginnings, never seen nothing like this. Private school to public school, I had to get a grip. Met a gang of homies that I loved like my brothers. Straight clowning up in class, couldn't tell us nothing. Walked to school every day with Louis Sotero. Was taken way too soon, we'll see you again though. Freshman year at East High, man, it flew by. Still all up in my shell, I was super shy. Was cool with all the jocks, cause my brother Hoop, my cousins Treese and Ann had me plugged with all the ladies too. Sophomore year, it felt like having pep band. Playing in the stands, drunk off 211. At the games, me and Vernon used to wild out. And all my fellow band geeks know what I'm talking about. Straight up. Before I even learned how to rap. These are the confessions of a band geek. Music molded me and made me, me. If I could, I'd probably do things differently. I used to only take my horn home once a week. The year was when I started skipping class. My mom had found out, I guarantee she kicked me. Did football one year and also did track. I threw the shot put in the disc, but really I was whack. Playing the trumpet was the only thing I stuck with. And that was only because my moms wouldn't let me quit. Hardly took my horn home being lazy. I was good and that's what drove Mr. Kazi's shot crazy. Can't forget the day he told me he was disappointed. Said I could have done something with the music if I wanted. And Walton is a parade marching, that's what my vision to be. And the artist really got started. But everything I know now, I wish I knew it then. I would have realized this music is my calling. So all the shorties coming up, remember no matter what, time is precious, don't waste it, no stalling, go all in. Throwback before I even learned how to rap. Tell my story kinda sorta like my diary. These are the confessions of a band geek. Music molded me and made me, me. And if I could, I'd probably do things differently. I used to only take my horn home once a week. These are the confessions of a band geek.
Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8 o'clock a.m. You are listening to and watching Good Morning, Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. It's the rainiest Tuesday ever. Hopefully we already thought we made the cover. Your day is moving along. Scratch that, DJ. Scratch that. You know what?
Drink.
Whenever we mess up on the show, we take a symbolic drink. If you would please drink your water, we can.
Cheers.
I think this might be the earliest mess up. All right. But we have a great group of guests today. We have our friend Victoria, Hyla, Maldonado. We have Alton, Terry, and Leslie, and collectively they are a New Way Church. All right.
Hello.
How y'all doing? Glad you guys are here. We had a great set of conversations before the microphone came on about many different things in life, and we'll talk about those today on the show. And we'll also, as we also mentioned, we will try to learn from a faith perspective what we can do to help the national discussion and help move the ball forward collectively here in the city. But Victoria, let's start with a little bit about who you guys are individually. We'll start with you, Victoria.
Oh, I'm Victoria Maldonado. I'm an author and writer here locally, and a friend of the show, Gans fan.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm here as an ally and one of the people on the steering committee of our new church.
All right, great.
Hey, my name's Alton Morris, and I'm a local small business owner with real estate, catering, and we also own a cleaning company, my husband and I. So I grew up in Joliet. I have lived in Aurora before, actually. Lived over right here on Downers, wherever that way is, because I'm directionally challenged.
Yeah.
Thank you, Victoria. But yeah, I just got on this venture with these guys, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this faith-based community and to be here to talk about it.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
Terry Hazel. I'm not a local Chicagoan, so forgive me for that. I'm a transplant from Houston, Texas.
All right.
Came up here with my job and retired operations manager. Hope not to stay retired, 'cause I'm not that old. But have been looking for a community that is truly inclusive and truly reflects the character of Christ. And so I'm involved.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. From Texas to Illinois. Glad to have you. Stuff, man.
I'm Leslie Clark, and I am also an ally and did have a little stay in Aurora for a few years. Mostly I just mom really hard right now.
That's the job, though. You go mom.
Momming hard.
We have 4 kids. We do foster care, so
Okay.
there's a lot going on there. And it was honor to join forces and create a much needed safe space in the faith community.
Create a much needed safe space in the faith community. I like that. You know what? We've mentioned on the show before that, or I have rather, I've noticed the faith community change a lot in years, decades, even from the past 5 years. What I've seen is its inclusivity, and I like that because I feel that for a long time, perhaps it wasn't on purpose, right? But just due to rigor and doctrine, many people who felt like they wanted to be a part could not fully be a part, right? I'm going to attend. However, there are people here who don't agree with X and my choices and my lifestyle. So I'm glad that you guys are like really spearheading and taking the lead to create that. I see more flags on churches now. I see more statements from churches, and I'm happy. It makes me feel good, you know. But what has been lacking, in your personal opinions, in that made the need for a safe space? Like, what was going on that even, we had to create that? So, you guys can take that anywhere.
Well, one thing that caught my attention when you were talking was the word lifestyle. Because sexuality, for one thing, is not a lifestyle.
Right.
That is an orientation. And so that's a part of who you are. And one of the main things, even in affirming churches for the LGBTQ plus community, is a lack of actual understanding and a depth of what that really means.
Right.
You know, so I think it's really important that what we're embracing is a community that can go into that depth and truly be inclusive and not just allowing that existence.
Ah, right. Exactly. It's the difference between allowing. Yeah, sure, you can have a seat, but that's different than being invited, actually be a part of it. Right.
Absolutely, and I think that from my perspective, also from the LGBTQ, if I can speak this morning,
See,
community,
we getting tongue tied up in here
because you get so passionate, right? Here we go. But from coming from that perspective, not being allowed to be a leader in the church, having a ceiling, and being told that I couldn't worship God in my way and use the gifts that He gave me to better the community and better other people's lives, whatever that may mean, was my motivation. But also, I'd like to point out that although that is a big portion of who we are and where we want that community to be able to come and feel safe, we want to be a safe space for everybody. So anybody who may be marginalized or be feeling anything, whether it's racial issues or women or whatever the case may be, we want to create a safe space for all.
With the population of the United States increasing, and with the amount of young people who are entering the workforce or graduating high school or perhaps going from middle school to high school, what can the faith community, like what covering can we in the faith community give to people to help them and guide them along? Because those are the kind of the ages where you start to have those doubts, like those serious doubts. So what can we do to not erase doubt? You can't do that. But what can we do to help? Help strengthen the person as opposed to letting them wallow in doubt.
Well, I think it goes back to that safe space kind of concept because despite all the social media connectivity and people being so in touch online, we're all very isolated, and you can feel very alone very quickly and very easily. And if I had something, a place to go to where I felt welcome growing up, I would have had a much different trajectory in my life. But so it's making sure that kids, no matter what they're feeling, no matter what they're going through, whatever struggling to figure out their own identity, that there is a safe space to go to just connect and to find that how Jesus loves and that kind of thing. I think that can help kind of shepherd society, and we kind of want to provide that space.
Yeah, I would say that kids are very aware of authenticity and vulnerability, and that is something, part of the safe space that we're wanting to create. And like Alton said, it's not just about LGBTQ inclusion. It's all about our approach to our faith and our growing spirituality as well. So I know in our family and in a lot of families, and I think and what we're seeing in the decline of people interested in joining faith communities is there is very little desire for someone to walk into a building and to be told what they're supposed to think. And I think that people who are raised in that environment and who are really holding on to that very traditional view of their faith and spirituality are clutching that with everything that they have, and it really pushes younger generations away. They want to be able to walk into a space and say, you say this, but that does not make sense to me.
Right.
And can we talk about it?
Right.
And when you walk into a traditional church service and you sit down, and even if you hear everyone's welcome here, you're welcome to have your doubts, but I'm going to tell you what to think, and then you're going to leave.
Exactly.
That's it.
Right.
And so even though you're saying it feels safe, it doesn't. Or even though you're saying you can have doubts, there's not a time to talk about that.
Right.
Unless you go seek out your own community. And that's part of what I love about the space we're creating at A New Way is that time for discussion is just built in. Because we find that what we learn from each other and the discussion that we have in our life experiences provide just as much value as what a pastor might be able to provide in our search for what Jesus is like and how God can move in our lives.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned, I think that was studies have shown like over years that the decline of people attending church regularly, the size of the congregations are shrinking and everything. Yeah, people don't want to simply be told. And I think that was, that was a problem for a long time. It became like school. I got to go on Sunday.
Yep.
I'm not invested. If I don't go, my mom will get mad at me. That's it. Bada bing, bada boom. And the reason why you don't feel anything invested into it is because you know that, unfortunately, I may not be the type of person who is, fully accepted.
Yeah.
I asked this question towards the end, but I want to ask you now, what's the biggest impact that COVID has had? We'll talk just a little bit, for yourselves, but on the community, our communities as a whole, and how did our proverbial ships rock spiritually because of COVID? What do you guys think?
For me, I would say COVID really gave me the time to grow a deeper relationship with God and become more faithful and more spiritual. It was a time where, we first thought the first 2 weeks, it's going to be 2 weeks, it's going to be over. And then, like you said, 3 or 4 months, it came to a point of, oh my gosh, what is really actually going to happen and what is going to become of this pandemic that was rising and rising. For me, it allowed me to grow closer to God. It allowed me to deconstruct the things that I thought before and open my eyes to the new possibilities of what could happen if things in the world changed, if people changed, if the church changed, and it became a place that really reflected Christ and love, and that's where it led me, the pandemic, personally and emotionally, spiritually, I should say.
Right.
I think the most profound thing that happened for me, and because I'm a person who is very, very busy all the time, and so it was very devastating for me on many levels, because all of a sudden my world just came to a screeching halt. It was not long after I had retired from my last career, and I live alone with 2 dogs, so it. Oof. Yeah.
No, I love dogs, but I know the not being able to be free part.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it was a really rough time, in the first few months. But it took me to a place where my faith became more solidified. I had less doubt than I've ever had about God, about God's ways, about all those things. But it also brought me to a place where I understood that things are going to be the way they're going to be, and I just may not like it. And, but that doesn't rock my faith anymore.
Right.
Whereas at one time it would have been like, oh God, why is this happening? It's just, this is happening.
I think it gave a lot of people an out, though. Church is very... for a lot of people, it's just kind of a habitual thing that they do. It's part of what they think they're supposed to do. And I know for us, the friends that we had, the community that we had, those shared experiences were really important. So when we took that away, it allowed us to really think about the message that we were getting. We took away the community, so now I can just find a message that I think truly reflects God. So while there were while the community being taken away was hard, it also allowed people to basically have the entire internet, which is good and bad, right? But it allowed people to really branch out and find the type of discussions that were life-giving and affirming and challenging, stretching faith in all the best ways as well. And I think because of that, people are open to change. To say, I never thought I could leave my church, but I went for a year without it, So maybe I can.
Right.
Maybe there is something to this, and I can just go and find a new place just as easily because I already did it.
When I saw the name, excuse me, when you sent me the email and it said, you know, you're introducing team and talking about the church, a new way. Immediately, and that's kind of why the theme of this is out with the old thought process and in with the new. Like, what I liked about it was that it sounded like something important but still fresh. Or excuse me, something fresh but still important. You know what I mean? And again, I think that from the outside looking, I think COVID was more helpful than detrimental to people in the faith community, because, like, again, if I know specific friends of mine, like, they started listening to different churches. Going every single Sunday or whatever the case may be was a little bit rigorous, but they still wanted the message. So they've been faithfully tuning in and receiving the message. The commitment to faith is still there. It's just they found another way to do it. And that wouldn't have happened unless their boat was rocked by COVID. So Terry, when you were mentioning the shutdown and the being locked in mentality, I completely know what you mean, because that's the spirit of how Good Morning. I was volunteering, I was busy, I was doing every single thing, and I was interning. And when COVID came, like, all of that and that which made me happy, volunteering, I couldn't even do. So I couldn't even go pass out food to people, and that's when I really was like, okay, now I have a severe emotional problem. I'm a single parent. So that was how I could fill my time, both mentally and emotionally. And when that was gone, that's when I finally was like, okay, now the rug has completely been pulled from under the door. And for people who didn't have that or have a church crutch, we saw what happened. Alcoholism increased, and different societal ills. But I'm glad we're all pulling out of it. I know that was kind of long-winded. I apologize. That was kind of long-winded. It's your interview. It's not mine. But yeah, no, it's an important topic. I'm glad to be talking with folks about it. The time is 8:17 a.m. Good morning to all of you, beautiful people. I'm usually saying your name in the chat, looking at you, but now you're here in the studio with us. Let's see all of our people. We got Anna Sierra, hello. Peter Aguilera, good morning. Buenos dias, Curtis and Maria, thank you very much. Leo Zarco, good morning. Maria Chirito and Jennifer Ryan Maiden. All of our good friends are here. We are here with a New Way Church. Now, the church is located in Naperville.
Yeah, we're at a temporary space.
Okay.
We're being hosted by
Community
UMC Church, and they're being very generous with their space. But we are looking to the future and to getting our own space, and where that lands, we'll see in the future. It could be Aurora, it could be Naperville. We'll
hopefully
see.
It lands in Aurora. You know what? We're gonna sprinkle that. Just sprinkle a little bit on it. Sprinkle a little bit. Okay. So we talked about the impact that COVID has had on ourselves individually, a little bit, and as a community. Are we optimistic at the moment on how things are going? And I know that you guys are building a new church, but let's talk a little bit more about the faith community as a whole going forward nationally. What are we looking like? How's it looking? Are we optimistic? Place to work on? What do you guys think?
That's a big question, I think.
That's how we
I think where we start is saying that the church as a whole is not doing a great job.
Okay.
But I would say that I'm optimistic that I sense that this movement that we are a part of is starting to activate across the nation.
Okay.
And I think that it will eventually make an impact. I hope and pray sooner than later. But everything we do in this country is work, right?
Right,
You've
yes.
got to work for it. You've got to strive for it. And this is important, and that is why we are doing it, because it is something that is needed,
Right.
not only in this community, but this is the space that we can make a change. And
Right.
so that's what we're doing, is we got to focus on that and hope that our impact makes ripples.
Yeah, and the concept that we are founded on, that true inclusion, true affirmation, true accepting of everybody on their faith journey. I mean, that's what we feel, that's in the true character of Christ. Because, I mean, who did Christ go for? He went for the outliers. He went for the marginalized. He went for, you know, you name it, the X category of
Right.
people who, oh, I'm so sorry. I have to get on the bus right now. Not my problem.
Mommy, right? Yeah. Yep.
Outliers, Jesus.
Outliers. Yeah. So Jesus went for the outliers. So that to me is what our mission is as, you know, people of faith and people that follow Christ, is to, you know, truly walk in that path and go, I love you. It doesn't matter to me where you've been or what you've gone through or, you know, who you love. I love that you are here and wanting to find Jesus. And that's kind of our perspective.
And I think just as a nation, I won't go too political because I can, and I won't.
Really?
But there's
The restraints shown. I applaud you. I applaud you.
But there's been a lot of intersection where things should not be necessarily intersected.
Right.
And a platform and a message that has been given to the name of Christianity that is nothing like the original Christianity.
Right.
And that is something that needs to be challenged. And I think that what we've found in our discussions with people who've come out to join us on Friday nights is that we are able to meet people who didn't realize that it was okay to walk into a church space and be like, but I don't think that. Or people who didn't realize that they could walk into a church space and say, where they once said, I'm a Christian, but I'm gay. Now they can walk in and say, I'm a Christian and I'm gay.
Right.
It's different.
Yep.
And the stories that we've been able to hear from people in the community about having that space to walk in has been really important. And I think that's what, if people are looking, I mean, there's a million places people can go if they want a very, what the United States has been serving as Christianity.
Ooh, I love that statement. What the United States has been serving as Christianity. I
Correct.
love that statement. People, don't mind me. I'm gonna just write that down. I love that statement.
There's a million places that people can go for that, and that's, I think, part of a new way. That's not the version you're gonna get.
Right.
At a new way, and I think there's a lot of hope there. I will say that. Given the, I say patriotism, fully knowing that with that, and because of the way our religious and political climates have so intertwined, that a lot of people feel that their patriotism includes a heavy dose of Christianity, which
Right.
doesn't have to be. People feel like they know exactly what they would get if they walked into a church, and they don't necessarily want that.
Right.
And so it's nice to offer a different option on the menu that is equally satisfying and perhaps more satisfying in actually drawing us closer and getting like true fulfillment instead of a menu that is pre-prepared.
Empty
Right.
calories.
Right.
Yes, empty calories.
Oh
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah, no, that's completely it. And that has been the point. I think it's been identifiable, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. That's the cliff edge. And that's where people have said, I'm sorry, Mom, right? I just can't do it no more. I just can't do it. Uncle Jim's conversations over Easter are just not what I'm trying to do anymore, and that's where it really got serious. It got serious when the family and the faith started to, where people really started, because you know, if you tell your mom that you're not feeling represented, or if when that starts to be cleaved, that's where, the problem has really started to surface its head. But I think that's where the surgery has started as opposed to the Band-Aid, right? America has been given the Band-Aid for the longest time, right? You don't feel represented at this community of faith, so you're the problem. Not the 900 people here, you're the problem. And people can't do that no more. They can't do that no more. They don't want to do that no more. They want to feel loved and they want to serve Christ, but it's hard to do that when everybody else in the so-called community or the church doesn't want you there. And you see it on their bumper stickers or their hats or the little things that they say in conversation and stuff like that.
Well, they want you there, but
Well,
right. Well, yeah.
organized religion has been forever just a means of control, to keep people in line and inside the box.
Right.
So I think that, especially the younger generation, are busting out of that box and saying, we're not going to take it.
We're not going to take it.
Just
Tell me,
rock of ages.
D. Snyder.
I know. I'm literally just saw Rock of
I
Ages.
do know a
on
little bit
Sunday.
about it.
Thanks for starting the music.
Like that family division you're talking about, where you're just like, I simply cannot put up with Uncle Jim's nonsense anymore. That's kind of was the impetus for us beginning this, and it really stemmed from Terry's desire and thinking about it for a while and just pulling the trigger and then bringing us all in. I mean, and it happened differently for each one of us, but I don't know if you want to go into kind of the inception for this whole idea.
Well, the inception was that I wasn't going to take it.
Yes.
And some things had happened in the church community that we all had come from that were just not acceptable and were not inclusive. Some actions were taken, that excluded people, especially in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And, in the LGBTQ community, word travels fast.
Right.
Because there we have our own network. And then as our allies started hearing about these things, they joined in as well. And because it was really very covert in our church community, how things really were and how they really felt.
Yeah.
So that we would, be a part of that community, but not know that we weren't truly accepted or affirmed.
Right.
And things, things didn't change as far as racial reconciliation. Our church didn't address that until the nation and the world watched George Floyd get murdered on television. Mm-hmm. So it was forced. We didn't address mental health issues until young people started committing suicide.
Right.
Which have all just increased, in recent years. This one particular topic, when their backs got pushed against the wall, they pushed back. And so I had been in conversations with people. I was very deeply entrenched in volunteer work for the church. But when I became aware that this was not going to change, I started talking to church leaders. And believe it or not, the vast majority of the church leaders were in total disagreement with this kind of stance.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Oh yeah, I bet. So I'll tell you a little secret. Tell you a little story. My grandmother, many of the generations in my family, right? My family's from Tennessee and Georgia. One way, growing up in the deep South, if you were black, to escape racism was to send your kids to like a convent or a faith school, because the overwhelming thought is disgusting as it's going to sound is that no good KKK member, if he wants to go to heaven, is going to firebomb a convent, for heaven's sakes, right? So my mom went to a Catholic school. My grandma went to Catholic school. So I went to a Catholic school up until like 5th grade. So I know exactly. I went to mass. The diocese knows me. And as a result, I know exactly what has been taught. And then after that, after growing up, then I joined the Navy, which is a great organization, but it's highly misogynistic, and it's a very male chauvinist dominated organization. So when it comes to who the other are or who's going to hell, I know, and I was told who was going to hell when I was 4. I knew the penalty of not going to mass and going to. I know all of it. Now, as a grown man, I look and I can only think how someone who was struggling with their sexuality, or some 8-year-old Puerto Rican kid who's in a new neighborhood, I know exactly how he must feel. So that's why this show has people like yourselves on it to talk about stuff like this, because at the very least, I would like people to be able to express that. You know what I mean? Because again, it's time for surgery, not Band-Aids no more,
Exactly.
And that's why I just try to, I know exactly how it feels. You know what I'm saying? I know exactly how it feels. Because all the churches that I went to, they weren't all full of black people.
Right.
So I know not all these people were welcoming of myself or my family. That's just the hard fact of life. But, and not to make a pun on it, it is a new way. You know what I'm saying? It's a new way for people to express themselves, but also still take part in the community that they love. Because it don't matter what you think of a person, all should be able to be welcome.
Amen.
That's why, Good Morning Aurora is kind of that safe space mentality. I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry.
No, absolutely. You mentioned earlier too about kids and what we can do. And I also want to make it very clear, especially because for a lot of people who have a very traditional view of Christianity and they've been told what to think about LGBTQ plus people, I think there's the idea or the idea that we're just ignoring parts of the Bible to make it fit our narrative of inclusion.
Right.
And there is a lot of information out there about the fact that is just not true. So I also want to make that because I think that's very off-putting when you think about people who are questioning what we're doing. There's the heretic label loves to be thrown.
Oh yeah.
And there is a lot of really important information that I feel like everyone needs to dive into about the biblical support for inclusion of LGBTQ plus people. It's something that I've been devoting hours and hours and hours studying in a cohort with a group right now to make sure that there is knowledge within our group for parents who are questioning, because the devastating fact that kids who identify as LGBTQ are dying by suicide at higher rates than just average children, just across the whole community of children. And then LGBTQ youth are dying by suicide at double the rate in Christian homes.
Right.
Something is wrong when kids growing up in Christian homes are killing themselves more frequently. That's not Jesus.
Right.
That has Jesus written nowhere on it. And the information is there. I think something, again, that A New Way offers is the ability to challenge what was previously thought had to be true. And a lot of people don't want to question that, because if you question that, then you kind of are stuck questioning a lot about your faith.
It becomes
Like,
a waterfall.
wait a
of
minute.
Oh
questions.
yeah, that's the
And that-
yeah. Oh, I didn't mean. Excuse me. I
No,
didn't mean
go
yeah,
ahead. No,
yeah.
it's your show. Go ahead.
Well, most recently, and this is so the topic is pertinent. It was the Salvation Army, their internal fluff, because a few members thought, you know what, why don't we do a little Juneteenth something? Or, it is kind of sad that 82 years ago, they were feeding, only white Protestants and not everybody, right? Which does nothing to diminish the legacy of the Salvation Army. There's no need to take the plaque off the wall, but when you bring up just that and want to make sure that kind of thing never happens again, now all of a sudden you're attacking and that's what they tie it all together, right? And it's unfortunate. See, that's the cop out, right? So if you pull that thread, the whole sweater falls apart.
Yeah. Maybe it's the wrong sweater.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. But and that's the problem. That's what's also been a hindrance to bring those healings, because people get offended. You bring up one bad thing about the Sierra Club. Now every single member wants to make sure that there's no need for that.
Yeah.
It's not an indictment of the entire organization to say that, member X in 1930 should have, not beat up a pregnant lady, for God's sake. That's not what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
Member X should not have done that.
But that's the strength that the wrong image in the faith community. That's the stranglehold right there. And changing people's minds when they're 71 is a very hard thing to do. That's a hard thing to do. That's why those conversations, right? That, again, going back to dinner. You come home with these crazy college ideas of everybody having a chance to be equal, and now that's the problem. But that is not the problem.
And we want people to come and ask questions and, respectfully challenge. I mean,
Right.
we don't want people coming in, being rude and stuff. But because we're not going to be rude back.
Right.
But I mean, we invite the questioning because we want people to grow and learn. We're growing and learning as we're doing
Absolutely.
this. None of us are experts.
Right.
And none of us have all the answers. But what we're doing is trying. We're trying to understand it. We're trying to walk in what we believe that Jesus is doing through Scripture and through evidence. And, make sure that people get those questions answered and, figure out their faith path because of those questions. I mean, that's how I came to faith. I was an atheist cynic for 30 years of my life. But because I was able to ask questions and challenge conceptions and see what it was, and then I realized, my path wasn't that far away from here. I was just told it was.
Right.
And we want people to understand that your story doesn't negate the reality that Jesus loves you and wants you to be a part of something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because could you, right? Because if it were the case that, to use your word, your phrase, what the United States has been serving as Christianity, if it were the case that that's what the dish was supposed to look like, we would never have made the progress that has been made.
Yeah.
Yeah, with racial injustice, with women equality, all those topics.
And it's like the more you read the Bible, it cannot be what Pat Robertson said, right? Like it can't. 700 Club, you guys know?
Yep.
Right, exactly. But that was the domination and the thinking. I grew up in households where that was. Anybody else been there before?
I was horrified when he ran for president. So.
There's so much about
Young people today will never even know how close that, right? Yeah. We remember that. Yeah. We remember that. But so it almost happened.
There's just such a quest for power.
Right.
I think, especially we were talking before the show, and what's wrong in America right now, and power. And anybody will do anything they can to get more power.
Yep.
And Pat Robertson, and I, again, won't get too political here, but there has been, once you found that the many traditional I say traditional in their views, super conservative Christians want to remain in power because it's easiest to have the majority of people agree with you.
Right.
Hello, we all know that. And so to do that, you can get your buy-ins, right? So and a lot of people don't really understand how this has all happened. They just haven't learned about what has happened in the last 40, 50 years in our country, of how politicians kind of like looked at faith circles and were like, ooh, we can use that dedication. We will like serve to those people so
Absolutely.
that they can serve back to us. And somehow we've created this thing that
Absolutely.
is so far from what Jesus actually did.
Instead of using the church as a place with which to have a food distribution
Exactly.
day, they've used it as a day to get message X out.
Right.
There's going to be 800 people here every single Sunday. I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
They they will commit to having this. I'm going to be here. That's been the problem. That's why the Village Baptist Church, Brian Sindelbach, when we interviewed him, and that's why I keep putting that poster out and letting people know that, because they got this food pantry that they do on Sundays, right? The food pantry is I think it's from like 9 to 11, whatever it is. But if you go there at 8, you can get coffee and donuts, right? I always try to put that message out there. Because if you are hungry or you need food and you need nourishment, I want you, and I think it's a good thing for churches to just do that. Allow you to come there and help yourself. That's God's message. You can stay for service if you want.
Yeah.
You already got the message.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You've
Yeah.
Have a good day. You've already got it. If you want to stay for service and the message identifies and resonates with you, then you can do that. And that's what I'm trying to, that's the better way for America and the faith community to operate.
The most profound thing I think that Jesus ever did was to serve,
Right.
his fellows, right?
Right.
And I love what you say, because I always think that somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to pray for you." Well, that's nice, but I also would like a sandwich.
Right. Oh yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And I get that nourishment physically. Good morning, Tracy Duran, Josue Pais, Jasmina. Wonderful conversation. Thank you very much, Tracy. Javier, good morning to you. Susan Mazio. Good morning, dear friend. Cheryl Brownell and Devin Soto. And Megan Elizabeth Bredson says, good morning, friends.
Oh, Megan.
Good morning.
Hey, Megan. How you doing? Kyle Penny Morris.
Oh,
Hey, tuning in. Kyle, what is up? Good morning to you. And our dear friend Leo Zarco.
Everybody's busy.
Right? Maria Charito, good morning. And Jennifer I. May. All right. The time is, what time is the time? 8:42. Yikes. We've been... Wow. This is a good conversation, man. We've been going. But I do have those couple of news topics I was telling you guys about. So, Monica, if you would please, or Maria, please, take me to a commercial. I can give folks some good news about music and the food pantry. And hold on, where'd that? Okay, here it is. All right, so let's start with music first. Don't forget, you guys, that Sunday, May 8th, the Orion Ensemble. Whew. They got a concert coming up at New England Congregational Church, 406 West Galena Boulevard.
That's right.
Sip it up. Oh, Devin Soto, sip it up. Okay, let's try that again.
Bring us beer.
406, right? Craft beer this early? But
Why not?
Saturday, 406 West Galena Boulevard. Okay. And again, that's going to be 7 p.m. Sunday, May 8th. Guest violinists Roger Chase and Stephen Bowe will join the ensemble for the fourth of 4 performances in this series. The public is invited. Parking is free. Admission is $30 for adults, $25 for seniors, and $15 for students. The ensemble performs classical, contemporary, jazz, and works of women composers. Good stuff. All right. Also, our friends of ACC, the Chargers, Aurora Central Catholic High School, they have their 26th annual Super Saturday Night Fundraiser, May 5th through the 7th. The hybrid fundraiser will provide participants with a guilt-free shopping experience that will help support student programs, maintain low tuition costs, and advance the school's new strength and fitness center. You ready for a corny pun?
Mm-hmm.
The theme is nacho average celebration. Nachos, like nachos. Boom, boom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it's for a very good cause. The sip and seat cocktail reception is $45 per person with the ticket. That includes an open bar, live music, hors d'oeuvres, taco and dessert station, and a raffle entry door prize for a wine pull. Oof. I like that. Bring on the Merlot.
That's good.
Okay, and then last but not least, the last thing I have to tell you about. Where did it go? Okay, here it is. Armed Forces Week. So, starting the week of the 16th, that Monday, and going all the way through, there is Military Appreciation Days for the Armed Forces, and this is from our friends of Mission Barbecue, the American Way. The Army is on Monday the 16th, Marines Tuesday the 17th, Go Navy, we got Wednesday the 18th, Air Force and Space Force, you have the 19th, and Coast Guard. They put y'all brothers at the very end of the line on Friday the 20th. Lunch with the heroes, is Saturday the 21st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Join for a free sandwich and be sure to arrive before noon for the live national anthem. Thank you to all of our active duty service members and veterans. The time is now 8:45 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Okay, so with the last 15 minutes, how can we change the world for the better? Who we got to call? Joe Biden, where you at? Who do we got to call to change the world for the better? What do we got to do?
We were talking about community before, and I think that's a really great part of what a new way wants to achieve is being out in the community, being recognizable, helping people. Volunteering is going to be part of our DNA. It is part of our DNA, and we're working on ways to figure out how we can do that and do that better. And I think that just one kind act at a time is going to be something that it's underestimated. It can cause big ripples. So to go small and to go hyper local and to really help those people and maybe get them to a place where they can help other people.
Absolutely.
Just continue to do that.
And we have a presence in the Aurora Pride Parade where we're going to be walking and marching, we have T-shirts that are on sale for a fundraiser to help with that cost. And it's like God is love, and you talk about that because you did the design.
Yeah, it just says God's love is inclusive.
Okay.
And then we use some symbols of all sorts of inclusion. To represent the love statement. But yeah, we're happy to be able to have those just for the message mostly, but also, as we've said, a fundraiser for our Pride Parade presence.
Very excited about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the link is on our website, which is newwaytochurch.com.
And the 2 is the number 2.
Yes.
Yeah,
New Way to Church.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
New
you
Way
very
to
much,
Church,
Tam.
and that's again that we've talked about with COVID and how social media has helped and hurt, but we you can find us on all the social media platforms as well. One of the things that is different is that we do meet on Friday nights, so that allows people who have a home church that they like to attend on Sunday to kind of test it out a little bit.
Right.
Come out on Friday night and join us. We do have kids are available, or we do have kids available.
We're selling that.
If you are.
Yeah, hold that down.
We do have kids are welcome.
Right.
Kids are welcome.
Her kids come, my kids come.
Yes,
they
kids
love
are
it.
there. They love it. So kids are welcome, and we'd love people to come find out. Our calendar is on our website, and it's really important to look there because we aren't there every Friday because we are doing other stuff in the community.
Okay.
So for instance, this Friday we will not be there.
Okay.
So if you go there, we won't be there because we're going to do something in the city. But yeah, the website is a great place, a great way to to find our information, and then reaching out on any of the social media platforms as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Bradley Clark, good morning to you. Nick Thompson, good morning. Megan Elizabeth Britt. Oh, wait, you saying hi again? We said hi, right? Yeah. I try not to forget anybody, so I might read your message twice. And Sarah Sommer, good morning. Sarah Sommer is a great artist and author as well. And Goose on a Roof, good book. Good book. Really good book. All right. So, hold on. The time is 8:49. I think, and I'd like your opinion on this as well, that the next 10 years are going to perhaps start to put the final wedge, or I could be optimistically thinking this, but I think that with social media and with the rise and the changes we've been seeing with the community, the faith community, and the messaging from some of the older established churches, I think that these next 5 to 10 years will be pivotal, because I think that we'll start to see, and I say this in a great positive fashion, the decline of the pillars of all of that stuff that used to underpin the traditional church. The traditional church is going to stand. You know, all the they will be there, but those elements of it that have kept people out, I think that that's going to be going away. What do you guys think about that? Am I using rose-colored glasses to look at that, or what do you guys think?
I mean, that's definitely the hope, and I think we're on that trajectory. I mean, we do not have designs to become a megachurch. That's not our designs. We want to serve this community in whatever fashion that turns into be.
Right.
But yeah, I do have hopes that will happen, that the establishment, the power, the control factor of the church is weakened, in a sense that it's not the only and the most vocal way to go. So, because if this resonates with people and they're like, I do have questions, I want to explore it, and I really don't feel like I belong where I'm at, come and check us out. It won't hurt. We're not going to turn you away. We're not going to say, no, you can't believe that or be that way, and just say, we'll be like, welcome.
Right.
What brings you here? And, welcome and join our message. Yeah, I think it's the trajectory that, definitely we hope for. And I think there's evidence that we'll go that way.
And my fantasy, I'm going to call it a fantasy at this point, but my fantasy is that, not just us, like Victoria said, we're not looking to be a mega church. We're organic, we're grassroots. And so the fantasy I have is that, that will spread and that will pop up in many places.
Yeah.
And just, in small communities. I think that, the traditional church, that the true essence of Christianity has been completely obliterated.
Right.
And people, even, especially young people, cringe at the word Christian.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons that I personally call myself a Christ follower, because there's even a stigma for myself that I'm just like, ugh, I don't want people to think that I'm that.
Right.
Because that doesn't look like Jesus to me.
Yeah. I've been in places where I've seen signs where it's like good Christians only. Now, it's kind of funny to have in a bar. But it's like it's more identifying of the town and the area. There's a lot of, I tell you what, there's a lot of places in America where I grew up on the border of Indiana. There's a lot of places in America, we joke, but we are not far from people who believe that all of us in this room right now, we're what's wrong with America.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
That's what's wrong with it. This is sin. Even bringing up the fact that, that's what's wrong in America. I look at comments. That's my thing too. I read comments on stuff. You look at some of these comments on articles and things like that, and the comments are just so feeble-minded, right? To ask why, what's this church doing feeding people who are undocumented? Somebody should call the cops on them, right? As if 8 o'clock in the morning giving hungry people food was really something. Was really something, right?
Wow.
What kind of world are you looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of world? But see, the pandemic, He moves in mysterious ways, doesn't He? Because when the pandemic came, here's something that I saw in my own people who had never had a hard time. Now they were in the line at the food pantry. They were able to pay their bills their whole life. Now they're behind on their mortgage. It happened to them when they were 68. So now, all of a sudden, they're standing in the same line, some guy from Ecuador who's got the same problem. And they're needing the same help. So it's in a way, and we don't revel in anyone's plight, but the poetic justice of people needing service and help is universal. You know what I mean? And that's that's the strength of the message. That's God's message. All people need help.
Well, and I think, it's important to go through life just continually reflecting on where you're at and what's around you and who you're surrounding yourself with, and that if you really do real reflection with the especially with the lens of Jesus, you can really just kind of understand where you need to be and what can serve you in your life,
right?
And see what other people are going through.
We have a dedicated group of listeners, and we appreciate all of our friends who listen to the show. How can we help you? How can any of our listeners and our guests help you guys out?
Get the word out.
Yeah.
The most important message is that we don't have all the answers. We are in the process of growing, spiritually ourselves, and that this is a great place to come and grow together and be safe and not have to sit in a box of self-loathing or insecurity or fear.
Right. Okay. A safe space.
Yeah.
Like she said, getting the word out and coming to visit us. We are there, like you said, mostly every Friday night, but our calendar is on the website. What's important also about us is we do want people to come, and we want to get them on hopefully a path of walking a journey with them where they can heal from the hurt and the pain that they experience from being outcast or pushed aside,
right,
or told they weren't worthy or that they weren't enough or that they couldn't be here. And they can come to our table. They can sit at our table. They can have a voice, and they can be heard, and they can be loved. And that is what we want to do. So come see us and visit us. That is the biggest thing. Tell people.
And you will be at the Pride Parade.
Yep.
You will have
We will.
The Pride
We'll
Parade.
be at the Napier Pride Fest as well, and anything else we can get out into the community to do.
We're doing
going
female
to
studying children in July.
Yes. On July 30th, we're going to do a meal packing with
that's a
starving
great place.
children.
Yeah.
So we're always looking for opportunities. If there's opportunities to serve that you know of, please get those to us so maybe we can help. Or anybody that may be in need that we may be able to be of service to. We're looking at ways to dive in and become part of that community and find ways to be able to help the best we can.
And we do, for our weekly messages, we often have guest speakers come in. And so if anybody, our message and our mission resonates with them, we invite them to email us and have a conversation and see if their message might be, one that our church would be accepting. Or our mission would be accepting to listen to. That's totally worth the conversation, and we'd love to hear that. I think we're booked through mid-June or right now, and all of us have been up there or are going to be to do the message, and we're learning together. But yeah, we'd like to welcome in voices that want to be heard in this kind of vein.
To add on to, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
To add on to real quick what Alton was talking about is the conversations and the place, for healing and all of that. Just our very format, I want to put it out there that we have opportunity after our messages for everyone to sit at the table and have those conversations. So it's, again, not just a place allowing you to be in that space. It's a place to actually address the reasons why you're in that space.
And speaking of the table and just kind of as a challenge to everyone is to really look around and reflect on the place. If you are currently attending a faith community, a church, to just really look around and and be aware of who makes up the table, and not just who gets to come and watch people eat at the table, but who is actually at the table. There are a lot of churches. Our former church is doing a lot of great things. They are doing great things. But look at the table and see who's sitting there.
Right.
If the people who are sitting at the table don't really represent the actual people in the community, then there's some things that need to be changed.
Right. Exactly. Javier Burgos, good morning to you, sir. Brian Clark, if you're interested in the shirt.
Yes.
Brian Clark, my man, what's up? Yeah, husband's tuning in. That's right. Saw you on the show. Hey, okay. But he put the link to the shirts.
Good job,
Thank you
Brian.
very much, Brian. Appreciate that. Chrissy
Good job,
Keith,
Brian.
good morning to you. Norman Peterson, hello. All right, so the time is 8:59. The show ends on a positive note. What is your message today for the people of Aurora? Anyone can start.
I would say that ignorance is not an excuse. So we are putting our vibe out there so people can be aware of this. Take this to your churches and make them aware of it. You are the church. You can make the difference. So don't think that the people that are in charge can stop you if there's enough of you to come together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Jesus loves you.
And just loves you.
Bottom line, it's all about love and inclusion.
Yeah, it is.
All you need is love. Wah, 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 wah. All you need is love. Wah.
Hey, okay.
But YouTube may flag that for our license if we don't stop because we're that good. Anyway, this has been a great show and discussion with our friends Leslie, Terry, Alton, and Victoria of A New Way Church. Please check out the link, which is in the chat, that our team has put in there. And I hope that you guys have a blessed, fantastic, and awesome day. And as usual, take care of yourself and each other. Woo.